if we're going to fight, let's fight up front. If we're not going to be able to do the job for you for the price you want it for, let's find that out early instead of halfway through tearing down your freaking house. So if we're going to fight, let's fight up front. Hey, you can't do it for the price I want you to do it for. No, we can't. Now they should go find somebody else to do it for that price, or wait until you can afford to do it the way you want to do it. So if we're going to fight, let's fight up front. So let's have those conversations before we rip your house apart and make sure that we're on the same page.
Welcome to the Frontier BuildCast.
This is not the show where we'll have the right answers and we'll pretend that construction has all the right answers.
This is the show where we talk through our opinions, our experiences, our arguments, our product picks, our pet peeves, and the stuff we see in the real world every day.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll sound smart, sometimes we'll be controversial, but all of it will be honest.
So if you want polished facts, this ain't it. If you want real conversations about building, renovating, design, permits, products, and all the chaos in between,
you're in the right place.
This is the Frontier BuildCast. Let's go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Frontier BuildCast. I'm Chris.
I'm Jonathan.
This is a podcast we're starting. It's not a place where we're going to pretend construction has one right answer. We're going to actually have a debate about a lot of different things. In fact, we might debate things where we both agree, but we're going to take varying stands of things. I'm Chris. I'm Jonathan's older brother. Often we joke that I'm the younger one, and Jay gets often frustrated with that.
Yes, I'm bald, so I often look like the older one of the two of us. But I'm not. 6 years younger, believe it or not.
6 years. It's a long time. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this, and Jay's gonna try to convince me why he's right all the time.
I am right all the time. I do try to tell you why I'm right all the time. You don't always listen. I'll do my best.
So sometimes we'll be smart. Sometimes we'll be spicy. Sometimes we will disagree. Often we'll disagree. But that's the whole point, is to have conversations about construction, the greater construction world.
Perfectly polished, right? This is going to be like high quality polished content.
That's
right?
my goal. My goal is to make sure it's like super high quality stuff like that, right? But at the end of the day, we're not those kind of guys.
Yeah.
So today's theme, Jay, if it's okay with you, I'd like to kind of propose that we have a debate about something. Now, we probably agree on this debate when people come to us and say, what's the price? So the idea for me is like, what's the price can often wreck a renovation. And my take will be that the question's too early, and it's usually a sign that the project is already starting backwards. So if you don't mind, if you'll take the homeowner side, right, and think it's a fair question, or debate the validity of that question.
I don't think it's a fair question. I think it's a bad question, but I could try to take that side. I think that's the wrong place to start off on a renovation or construction project for sure. But I'll try to take the side of a homeowner that does want that. I can understand why a homeowner wants that. I mean, I'm a consumer of all things except for home renovations and construction products. So I buy trucks, I buy cars, I buy clothes and food, and I do care about the price. So I can see why a homeowner also cares about the pricing, and that generally is why that's the first spot they can start. I do tend to think that the reason that the homeowners start there is because they don't know where else to start oftentimes. So they think that's the first point they can control. So yeah, I see why they want that question answered first. So Chris, what's the price of a renovation project? How do I know how much a rental project's going to cost, or construction project's going to cost?
Yeah, it's a challenging question, right? So that's the thing. For me, it's my point is very similar to you, and like it's going to be very awkward and hard for us to have a debate and take a side of the consumer and say it's a valid question. I mean, it is a valid question. It's just, I think the marketplace has taught us that we can think about a renovation kind of like a product, where you can choose a product and then there's different variations of that product, and each one of those variations will have its own price tag. And I really think that the homeowners or the consumer in general is looking for information, because they don't do this all the time, and they don't actually know where to start. They don't know how to start.
That's exactly what it is.
How do we start? How should a homeowner start then? Like if the idea is what's the price is the only thing I know, what's better?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm taking the side of the homeowner that says what's the price, I mean, you should know what the price is. And a good contractor does kind of know in buckets how much a project should cost, at least they should have some semblance of an idea, at least more than a consumer or a homeowner would, for sure. So when the homeowners do ask me that question, like, what is the price? What is often the answer?
I don't know.
Exactly, that is the answer. I don't know. It depends on what you're looking for, because there's so many different variations of types of projects. Like, I mean, you can do kitchens for 10 grand. It's not a nice kitchen, but you can do them for 10 grand. But we've also done them for 6-figure projects, like kitchens that are 6 figures, and like in the high 6 figures too. So they can get expensive, and it's really hard to when you're first meeting with a homeowner to give them an idea of how much that project's going to cost. But like most customers that call us, that is one of the first things they want to know is like, how much should we budget for this project?
So how do we get them to start somewhere, right? That's the problem that we run into often. It's one of the things that we rack our brains all the time about, is how do we give people a clear answer or a clear starting point, because they need to start somewhere. And to be fair to the homeowner, to the consumer, like you go to a car dealership, there's an MSRP on things.
100%.
So where do I get an MSRP for a kitchen or a bathroom or a whole home renovation, or how do I even start that conversation? And for me, the challenge is that there's always a better question. It shouldn't be what's the price. It's really like, I can afford X. Is that a reasonable idea for this project?
Well, your car dealership analogy is a good one, although the biggest hole in that analogy is that when you walk into a car dealership, you've already selected your price point, because you know whether you're walking into a Honda dealership or a Mercedes dealership. So when you start buying a car, you already know what bucket you put yourself in by walking into that dealership, that specific dealership. So you're not just going and saying, what is a car? What is the price of a car? Or what is the price of a family sedan? That question's impossible to answer just at face value. But if you go, what is the price of a Mercedes family sedan? That's going to be very different than what is the price of a Honda family sedan. Those two prices are going to be very different. So the car dealerships actually have a leg up on us, because you've walked into their dealership and their price points are already kind of set, and like the type of car and the price point that you're expecting to land at is already set. We don't really have that advantage in the renovation construction industry, because we can talk to 2 different customers and they'll have 3 different prices.
Is that a failing in the construction industry because everybody tries to play in the same sandbox? Like Mercedes and Honda don't play in the same sandbox.
Right, they're both selling the same product, which is a car, but we are selling the same product. Like, we are on the medium to high end price prices of a builder, and like when we're comparing our price against entry level builders, one guy in a truck kind of prices, we're not going to be the same price, but we're also not delivering the same product. Now,
I would argue that's my argument, is that we're not a Honda and a Mercedes are not the same product. They have the same outcome. If you think about automobiles as a point A to point B kind of situation, where it's like, I get in the car, I need to turn it on, and I need to go somewhere. It makes sense that you compare its function, but they're not the same product.
Right, a kitchen is the same whether it's $150,000 or $20,000. The idea is, can I cook my hot dogs on this stove? That is true in both of those cases, right? But we're able to deliver on both those products. Like, we're not often doing the lower end of the kitchen, we're doing the medium to high end of the kitchen. So we have to talk to our customers about what level of service do they expect from the project, instead of what product are they looking for at the end of the day. Like, are they looking for that entry level product? Are they looking on a little bit more? Is this the first time they've ever done it? Is this their first home? Are they building a new home? And what did they like about their last kitchen and hate about their last kitchen that they want to change, or they want to keep the same? Because all of those things are going to dictate the price. And I think the biggest skepticism coming from a homeowner is like, well, whatever price I say to the contractor is the price that this is going to end up costing.
Well, it's going to. That's the reality of it. I say that all the time. When I'm sitting at the table talking to people and they ask me what the price is, I say, listen, honestly, I'm going to spend every dollar you're willing to spend, and I can't spend $1 more. So whatever the cost is, whatever you want to spend is actually what it's going to cost. And it has nothing to do with the contractor, actually, what the price is. Yeah, I mean, obviously, and we're kind of arguing the same point, is that there are tranches to each thing. There are buckets. A kitchen can be $10,000, sure. It can be $200,000, sure. They have the same function. Then if somebody were to come to me and say, well, I'm looking for a kitchen and I have $100,000 budget, to do this kitchen. Can I do a kitchen in that? The answer is yes, probably, right? Probably that's a reasonable budget. Can I do a kitchen with gold countertops? No, right? Can I do a kitchen with, a 30-foot island that's heated so my hors d'oeuvres stay hot while I'm entertaining? No, right? Obviously, there's some thresholds to this whole thing, right? Yeah. So to be fair to the consumer, how do we do that, right? How do they get to know what are options that are within their budget and what are options that are not in their budget?
Well, I think a good contractor, honestly, should be not selling the construction project when they're there talking to a customer. I don't think that, like, generally contractors know what they're selling when they sell a project. We've talked to customers before that have I've been talking to 3 or 4 different contractors about how to take care of this kitchen, for example. We keep talking about the kitchen analogy, but to take care of this kitchen. And, and this guy says it's going to be X, and this guy says it's going to be X times 2. But neither of those contractors know what they're building yet or what they're getting into. And the homeowner doesn't even know what they're getting into. And generally, I think that's where the homeowner they're not educated in this, because a lot of the times these renovations that we're doing for people, it's either their first time ever doing it or the only time ever doing it, generally. Rarely do we come across people that are doing a large scale home renovation for the second or third time. This is like a once in a lifetime purchase. So how could they possibly be educated enough at the outset to do this right? So I think that the approach should definitely be coming from a standpoint of let's have a conversation about what I want. Let's enter a partnership with somebody about what could be done, and just get some ideas out there. And if you want to take those ideas at the end, once you fully kind of flesh out the idea of what you want to several contractors to get prices, that could make sense. But there's no way that 2 contractors can price one job. If you ask 2 contractors the price of one job, you get 3 different prices.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Yes. So, we obviously take a proactive approach to construction. We think that at Frontier, we really think that the planning is more important really than the actual construction process. The planning process actually dictates and the outcome of the construction process. With proper planning, obviously, or at least in our mind, that the construction process should just be like Lego bricks, right? Any competent carpenter, any competent subcontractor should be able to put together the items that are put into a plan.
Yeah, right? My takes that 80% of contractors aren't competent.
Well said.
All of them are not competent. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, and as a homeowner, it's kind of daunting to try to pick somebody. Honestly, when you're trying to pick the GC or you're trying to pick all the sub trades at the same time. Oh my God. Yeah. Some people take that on, and it's crazy that they do that, but they try to take on acting as their own general contractor, and to their detriment, for sure. It costs them a lot more money to do it that way. Yeah. I mean, general contracting, for those that don't really know what general contracting is when you're acting as the planner or the executor of the project, and you're hiring all the sub trades and you're doing all the ordering, and you're making sure all the materials are in place and all the scheduling. The general contractor will do that, and make sure that everything is done when it's supposed to be done. And a lot of homeowners, when they're trying to save on cost or expense, they think that they can do it themselves. What's the price for me is also what's the cost of time, right? What's the cost of your energy? What's the cost of, what's it doing to your family to have your kitchen, for continuing with our analogy today, out of service for longer than it should be? Yeah, you and I have both general contracted before we were general contractors. We both have micromanaged contractors in our life before in our houses. Yeah. Yeah. But we think we can do it. We think why can't we do it as a homeowner? I don't think I can even do it as an employee of Frontier. I know that. There's a whole team here for sure. That there's none of us can do the whole job. There's a lot of us that do it. But why can't a homeowner do it? What is it about it that they can't do? Nothing. There isn't anything that they can't do. It's a matter of whether they have the skills, knowledge, and experience to do it well, right? I mean, to hire each subcontractor is absolutely possible, but when does the plumber need to come in, and how do you get the plumber back in when the electrician's there? How do we make sure the electrician's there to make sure that when the plumbing or the
the steam shower needs to be hooked up, or when do we get the gas fitter there? When does the drywaller need to be there, and the insulator, and how do we manage permits, and how do we do all the inspections and all that kind of stuff? So the amount of background planning that goes into this is that's where a lot of homeowners fall short, and that's when they think, well, when the price for a general contractor increases, they're like, well, why am I paying all that, or why am I paying extra for that? And the truth is because they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, why is it so hard for a general contractor to give me a rough range on a project then?
Well, I think about pricing, and I think every homeowner should have the same price. Like, they should have the idea of, am I playing in the right stadium, right? Or let's start with the right sport. Are we even playing the right sport, right? If we're thinking about, like, if you're talking about playing cricket and I'm talking about playing basketball, they're not the two same. I can't jump.
That's not your sport.
All right, if you're playing cricket and I'm playing soccer,
okay,
they're two different sports. They're played in two different fields with a whole different set of rules, right?
What are the rules to cricket?
No idea.
Why would you bring up a sport you don't know the rules to?
I really don't know. I've watched it once or twice, but I have no idea. But I think the first thing is for any homeowner to understand, like, to have at least a concept of what sport they're playing. And for them, it starts with their idea, right? I want to do X, or I think that this would be inspirational for me is to do, this project that I have, this whole home renovation. I want to add an extra bedroom or back space onto the house for the kids and a playroom or whatever it might be. That at least gives us the sport, right? And then we can start talking about, whether we're playing in the right stadium, right? Am I playing on a Pee Wee league, or am I playing in the professionals, right? Those are different fields. Where I grew up playing soccer and where, other people play soccer are two different experiences. I can tell you that.
Yeah. My 9-year-old can keep your ass at soccer now, so.
You definitely can do that. I mean, I played on a field where when you kicked a ball on the ground, the ball would bounce because it hit the divots, right?
Yeah.
And that's a different level. It's a different level. There's lots of fields where didn't have grass on them, right? They were torn up so bad.
Especially right around the goalie crease, like there's always that that muddy, depending on the weather, but like that muddy, like crazy big hole in front of the goalie's net.
That's it, the pit, right? And okay, so is that the field I'm playing on when I'm doing this project?
Yeah.
Right? Or am I playing on a college field, or am I playing in a professionally groomed field where every blade of grass is the exact same height and there's not one extra divot on the field?
So I'm going to give you a call, Chris, and just say, like, hey, I want to do a back sunroom, living room spot on my house. I want to put an addition on, and I want it to be like a family room, sunroom, living room kind of idea. I don't know where to start. I went on ChatGPT and I asked it, how much is a 20 by 12 addition to my house going to cost? And ChatGPT said a lot of different things, like, it can range from, $80,000 to $300,000. It depends on the contractor. And when I asked it what first steps to do, it said, you should probably start by having an idea of your budget in mind, and then have a call with a contractor to see if they could do it for that budget. So I call you, Chris, and say, hey, I have this idea that I want to do this sunroom, and I want to know how much it's going to cost. Where do we start after that conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us, anyway, our process would be to have an in-depth conversation about what your project is, to understand it in great detail. Always the best way to go forward is with paid consulting, with hiring a company to do a feasibility report to find out the site constraints, the risks of the property. You look at a wall, and a wall, any wall looks very simple, right? You got drywall, you got paint on it, you got some pictures, but behind that wall there's a ton of things that can be going on back there. There's insulation, there's plumbing, there's heating vents, there's electricity, there's there might be information cabling, there might be whether those studs are made of wood or they're made of steel, or whether it's actual drywall or plaster, or there's so many things that a wall can be, that without proper investigation, without an in-depth conversation or an in-depth plan, the risks of a project exploding out of budget, even with a bracket budget up front, is huge, right? It's huge. Anytime we have to open something.
I think the real question that homeowners are asking when they say, hey, what kind of budgets are we looking at for this? Is what they're actually asking is, hey, what is the roadmap? Like, what is the process? I just want some clarity. You know, I'm going into this for the first time or maybe the second time in their entire life. I just want some semblance of clarity into this. And how do I develop bond and rapport and trust with the contractor to decide if what they're going to provide to me is some sense of clarity? And I think the contractors that do offer price up in the first visit, and some of them will, by the way, they'll just offer up price. Doesn't mean that will be you end up paying.
Like how? I don't know how they would do that. Like, it's impossible for me.
It won't be the price you end up paying for sure. But they're just offering up price because they, you know, we're trained to answer questions. So we've been trained in school. Hey, what is 2 + 2? We put our hands up and little Timmy says 2 + 2 = 4. But really what we should be answering that question with is just way more questions. Yeah. And what we need to provide to, like, what we're trying to provide to our customers is really just a sense, like a roadmap of this is what the process looks like of how to get to some semblance of an answer for that question. Like, how much is this going to cost? We know that price is going to be one of the top decision-making factors for you when it comes to doing this project. Like, everybody knows that, but it's whether or not we can, like, agree on the scope of work, make sure that what the scope of work that we're saying is actually going to happen, and then can we assign a price to that? And oftentimes, like, it should be approached as two kind of separate projects, right? There should be the create a roadmap project and then build my project, which are kind of as two separate things in my opinion.
You know that over the last while, Frontier we have a whole department called pre-construction in our company, and over the past while we've been mapping out that process, and we continue to add things to that process. And just in the pre-construction stuff, before we actually, they're not including like all of the things inside of it, but there are over 28 steps that we do on every project, from the time somebody hires us to start with pre-construction to the time we hand it off to construction. There are over 28 steps, and in fact, we just added another step today that we recognized we needed as well. So, like, and inside of that, there are over 20 different documents that get prepared for clarity.
And then one of those steps might be consult with the engineer and have engineer drawings done. Well, that engineer inside of his section has 25 steps of his own. One step. Yeah. So it's not something that is linear. This is not a linear process, although a good contractor can bring some linearness to it. Is that a word? Linearness?
Linearness, it works for me today.
Some linearness to the project.
You just created a new word.
Hell yeah. So they can bring some semblance of, like, this is the line that we're going to follow, the roadmap that we're going to follow to get there. And if you have a good contractor, they're going to bounce around the turns and swerves up that linear path for you and just bring you the information that you absolutely need to see. And one of those pieces of information would be the price. Now, when we're talking about that price, are we going to give, like, should they get some sort of bracket when they're working through this?
Yeah, they should know. I mean, everyone should have, like, that goes back to the whole playing in our field. If we're playing the same sport, right, that's our biggest bucket, right? That's okay. Well, this project, you know, we've done these projects, like a kitchen, for instance, from, you know, let's say $25,000 to as much as $250,000, $350,000. Yeah. You know, and if inside of there is a budget that makes sense to you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, then yeah, we should probably think about what your specific needs are, so we can talk about where you fit in that range. And for us, like, the hardest thing, the thing that I avoid, and the reason that contractors will avoid giving you an actual price, or at least we will, is, you know, the idea of, oh, just give me the ballpark price. I'm not going to hold you to it.
How many times have you been helped?
The idea that a ballpark price becomes a promise is something that has been consistent in my career.
Yeah, thanks. You said between 100 and 300,000. So why isn't 150? You said it'd be 100.
Yeah, you said it would be $100,000. Yeah, no.
Honestly, Chris, I know this because you're still my real estate agent, and the first house I ever bought, which was I think like 13 or 14 years ago, my wife and I said, hey, we have a budget up to this kind of price range for this. And you said, oh, no problem. We'll get a house inside of that range. It ended up being at the top of that range. I don't think it was your fault. And I told you, like, when I said that range, I didn't mean the high end was all we had, but I held you to the low end of the range that I gave you, and we ended up spending at the high end.
You did.
But it wasn't because of the decisions you made, it was because of the decisions that we made.
Yes.
Is it possible for me to have bought my first house? This guys go back 13 years. Real estate was a lot less expensive back then.
Definitely.
When I said I have a $200,000 budget for my first house, could I have gotten a house for $200,000?
100%.
100% I could have. Did I buy a house for $200,000? No, because the things that I wanted inside of it didn't fit inside the $200,000 bucket.
No, exactly.
So it didn't. And that's the same.
And that's really it. Like the idea, like a house is a great idea. You can get, even now, there's houses in the $400,000 range, but I saw a house listed just the other day for $40 million, right? They're the same thing. They do the same thing. They have beds and kitchens and bathrooms, right? They just have different amenities and features outside of that, right?
It's what you want, right? What do you want? Like, really, because then you can check off the different sections of, like, if somebody says I have a between $100,000 and $300,000 budget for this project, can they do a kitchen in that price range? Probably, yeah. No, you 100% can do one inside that price range. Where in that price range does it land is really just up to you. So as we walk through the journey of going through what you call pre-construction, that's what we call it inside of our company, is pre-construction. As we walk through that journey, the funnel of price gets closer and closer as we learn more about the project.
And by the time it's done, you have a fixed price, with us anyway, a fixed price that we know we should by that time know exactly how many screws we're using.
100%.
By the time you've done pre-construction, you should know everything about the project.
And homeowners never, ever, ever change their mind midway through construction either. So the price that I got that day is completely going to work because I never change my mind as a homeowner.
I've never seen you change your mind one time.
Me, I'm bad for changing my I changed my mind already about doing this podcast. So.
I know. You're right. You didn't want to do it today. You're like, I don't know, maybe we'll do it another day.
Yeah. So like that is the one variable. Like, so you give me a price now, and then I go and make some changes during construction. How do we handle that?
Oh, change orders. Change orders are so. This is where it frustrates us as Frontier so much, because we actually hate change orders. Like from our company's perspective, change orders mean that we failed the customer because if we had to make the change order because we didn't see something, or we made a failure. But a lot of companies will price and then do change orders to make their money up, right? They'll price a project. Oh yeah, we can do that project at $50,000, and ends up being $40,000 in change orders, right?
And actually, those are one of the ones where if it's not done right in the beginning of the process, like the pre-construction process or the consultation period of a construction project isn't done right, or a contractor's just trying to close a sale, just trying to put money in their pocket, that's when you get those change orders that skyrocket the price. And you hear those horror stories from your neighbors and friends that said, oh, I hired a contractor. You said you'd do it for 50 grand, and ended up costing me 80. And it's like, yeah, well, then what you did was agreed into a project that was set up to fail from the beginning. Yeah. Now, if you didn't change your mind on anything, once they started going into it and finding things that were wrong, yeah, the change orders start coming in because they didn't plan well enough.
Yeah.
And the planning step is a part that gets rushed all the time. And I don't know how to slow it down, but like if you look at the medical industry, it's all planning. You know, like unfortunately we have our parents-in-laws are aging, and there's medical issues all over the place, and there is just a process that's followed. Now, because we're in Ontario, our lovely, I'm not saying that's sarcastic, our lovely public healthcare system, which is fantastic, follows a very strict process. You have to see your family doc first, and they have to refer you to a consultation with a specialist. And then that specialist, you wait the waiting period, you go to the consultation, that the specialist then determines whether or not you go to the next step. And because of that, our healthcare system does what it's supposed to do most of the time, does what it's supposed to do. It gets the right people to the right places. There's no governance around the construction industry. And a lot of the homeowners want to rush that process. And I don't blame them. Everybody wants to rush every process. But the fact is, when you go to do that, when you go to rush those processes and just make quick decisions, is when you get burnt.
So how long will it take is another question, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I have no idea. You know, oh, this is an easy project. Shouldn't take that long, right? right?
No,
Well, if somebody wanted to do a whole home renovation, like even right now, what should they be planning for? Like, I want to do it while the kids are out of school.
yeah, well, if you're talking to me right now and you want to do it in June, you're in trouble because that's one of those things where you'll be out of it a lot longer than you think if you're trying to book it from into June and you're starting a conversation with a contractor in March. There's just not nearly enough time to do a good job at the process in such a small window of time.
So how long should, like, if I wanted to be out of the house during the summer, when am I planning on building right now? Next,
Sorry, say the question again.
I'd be planning for next year, right? Like,
Oh yeah, like if a contractor agrees to do a job right now in June, they're rushing it because they're not busy, and that's not your problem. But it will become your problem as the homeowner pretty darn quick
yeah,
because now you're fitting you're fitting into their schedule. Like they're trying to fit you into their schedule, not the other way around.
yeah.
So they're just looking to close a deal, and that's a serious problem. And we often say like, yeah, we could get this done in 6 months, but it really is going to depend on that decision making factors during the process, and if there's any complications, there's a lot of zoning and permit applications, planning applications, and processes that have to go through when we're doing the types of scopes that we're doing, which is large scale renovations, additions, accessory dwelling units where there's property line issues and maybe lot coverage issues. If we try to say, yeah, we'll be able to do it this summer, well, the planning department at the Norfolk County, I don't know if anybody's worked in the Norfolk County Planning Department, they're fantastic. I love these people, but my God, they overworked. And is the waiting period always longer than you expect? Yes, 100% of the time. So yeah, you can't plan to do a project 2-3 months in advance. Not a large scale project anyways. Maybe you can plan a deck or something, but you can't say I want a new kitchen and renovate my main floor and expect to be started in 2 or 3 months.
And if you
How long until like we would be starting a project now? Somebody was calling us today.
October, November, maybe December,
Right.
honestly, maybe even next year. I mean, it really depends on the size of the project.
Yeah. And it's not because we don't have the build capability, it's because the planning of it takes that long. It could take
It has nothing to do with actually the build. The first chance that you can actually get, shovels in the ground because of the process, because of this, the planning and the engineering, the design and the material selections and the feasibility and the permitting and, that whole process is a 3 to 6 month process.
But we're decision makers, Chris. Well, trust me, we're easy. We're quick decision makers for that before.
Heard that before. Now, and in truth, you are, but even still, it takes you a long time to get a job done.
I am, but I love my wife dearly, but if you try to get her to rush a decision, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
I'm a quick decision maker, but if there's 2 of us, my process isn't the one that we're following generally. It's Jamie's and there's always 2 people usually involved in these types of conversations.
I guess there's always that, and then there's parents, and there's social media, and there's friends, and and everybody has opinions, right? I mean, that's the thing. Social media and TV and television, these home build shows show a major process, and then compressed into a half an hour entertainment show, and which kind of gives us false idea that we can actually get stuff done faster. Right? Like, whatever, Love It or List It or the whatever programs they are, I enjoy watching them, but I've never been able to see a project go together in an hour or an afternoon, right? It doesn't work for me.
Looks good on HGTV though. I don't like HGTV and those types of programs because they do give people ideas and it helps people see what's trendy, what's interesting. What they might you don't know what you don't know, so you don't even know that you might want these types of features unless you have those types of programs. So those are great, but yeah, I mean, I haven't watched HGTV in a while, but I used to watch Homes on Homes, which that was a good one because you could he showed the dirty parts of what was
I had some friends that was on Homes on Homes.
Yeah, so he shows the dirty parts of what happens when you start doing a renovation, but things like Extreme Makeover Home Edition, is that the one where they did the move that bus?
Oh yeah, that right. Yeah.
Or Trading Spaces. I always loved that one too.
Always fun. Yeah.
Every table was made out of plywood, and everything was slapped together, and it was done very quickly because they tried to do these things I think in a week.
Yeah.
But that's because the show has a budget, not because the homeowner has a budget.
That's right.
So.
I mean, I guess like for today, like the common, like for me, the common middle ground is like, if we're going to educate anybody about anything, it's not like, okay, what is the price? It's like, what is the right price conversation we should be having at the right stage of this of our relationship, right? Like,
100%. And the contractor that you should be doing with has done projects that you can see the projects they've done that are similar to what you want to do. You don't want to be on the high end or the low end of a contractor's abilities, because those are their uncomfortable zones. So if you're looking at the work that they're portraying on their social medias and their websites, that's probably their wheelhouse work. So you should be talking to a contractor that's doing the work that you want done inside their wheelhouse. So talk to them, and they're going to have a better idea about how to move the process forward. And if you're talking to somebody that is stretching themselves, like if you're talking to a startup renovation company that's able to handle a small, and maybe finishing a basement or something like that, that's a smaller scale project, and you're talking to them about putting a giant addition and a main floor renovation on your house, you're probably stretching them. They're probably going to be wrong. And unless you want to be the guinea pig for them, I would suggest finding a company that's a little bit more aligned to what you're looking for.
right. So I guess it's not like get to the price fast. It's like, let's get to the truth early.
Get to the truth early is a good way to say it. Yeah.
Right.
Let's see what is actually the pain points. What is actually the things that you're looking for in a house, and we could talk about budget while we're doing that, so we could see, like if we're leading you in the right direction. But yeah, the faster we get to the truth and like
I mean, you know, for all it's worth, like any even Frontier, like a construction company, is not gonna make a career off of any one renovation. So there's not a huge like compulsion to oversell. Like for $100,000 project or $120,000 project or a $150,000 project doesn't make the company, you know, that much more money. It's not that we don't have the motivation to oversell on a customer, because as far as I know, you know, if a customer is mad at or disappointed in the outcome, they're not going to hire you or refer you. And for us, like, the referral is worth more. The repeat business is worth more than the extra couple $1,000s on a budget.
Like, here's a big industry insider for anybody watching. The average profit margin for a builder is in the single digits. So take the project sale that they're selling to you, like for example, $100,000. Most people are making $4,000 or $5,000 from that. Then this is not life-changing amounts of money that they're making. Which means that if on a project like that, a company that's running that thin of margins did not do a thorough job in the beginning, they're gonna cut corners because they're not gonna lose money doing your project.
Yeah, they're not gonna pay for your bathroom.
Yeah, so paying up front for something, like paying up front for some consultation, some engineering, some conversations, is gonna save you so many headaches. These guys are not trying to make 50% profits off of you or anything like that. That's not what contractors are doing. So where did we land, Chris?
I think today the conversation really comes down to that clarity is the king of it all, right? So facts are friendly at the end of it. You know, I believe that if a contractor is not willing to say, listen, it's too early to have that conversation with you, we have way more investigations to go to do before we can give you a number. At the end of the day, we just need to take time to get clarity.
Well, we have one of my favorite things, I think it's one of yours too, is if we're going to fight
up front.
Fight up front. If we're going to fight, let's fight up front. If we're not going to be able to do the job for you for the price you want it for, let's find that out early instead of halfway through tearing out your freaking house. So if we're going to fight, let's fight up front. Hey, you can't do it for the price I want you to do it for. No, we can't. Now at least you can go find somebody else to do it for that price, or wait until you can afford to do it the way you want to do it. So if we're going to fight, let's fight up front. So let's have those conversations before we rip your house apart and make sure that we're on the same page, like way ahead of, hey, you know what? You don't have a kitchen right now. And if you want us to put your kitchen mat together, we have to change the price by $10,000. Well, that's a stupid time to have a fight.
Really, it is.
Yeah.
I was actually sitting with a couple friends yesterday. We were having hamburgers. We do burger Mondays, burger nights on Monday.
It's amazing. What is that? grill you had? The Black Rock? Is that what it's called?
Blackstone, yeah.
Blackstone. Awesome grill for a smash burger.
So we're sitting there, we're just having a conversation, and they're talking about a trip that they took to India. Actually, it was a remarkable sounding trip. And they said that their tour guide, I can't remember the tour guide's name, had dropped them off after this whirlwind of a tour at the train station, and they had train tickets bought and paid for and already. They went up to the conductor, and the conductor said to them, to get on this train, you're gonna have to pay us another $50. Right? Well, at that point, they're held hostage, right?
Here's my 50.
You need to pay us another $50. But and they're like, but I can see my name right on the sheet there.
Yeah,
I can't see it.
Should see it.
I can't see it.
A magnifying glass for me to see it.
Yeah, and so like, and that, I mean, unfortunately, that happens in this world where you have no kitchen, or you have train tickets, but you can't get on the train. And some people will hold you hostage over that $50, and you have little recourse at that point.
Yeah, you can sue them if you want. Like, there's definitely
there's
places you can go, but my God, is that expensive too? What a pain in the ass. Like, when
you
you're
have to have this ways through, but if you're in the foreign country, there's no.
Yeah,
there.
I did switch back to the construction side.
But yeah, the idea that the fighting up front is the most important. That's why that comes to is like, how do we handle if there's overages? That question should be asked way early in the
before. And by the way, if you ever did get into a point where you're suing your contractor for something, and you were to ask your lawyer, what should I have done differently so that this didn't happen? He would have said, have a better contract up front, have had better conversations up front, and talked about all these ifs, ands, or buts beforehand.
Put the promises in writing.
Put the problems in writing, put them up front before any money exchanges hands, or before any agreements have been made or any hammers have been swung. And that's what your lawyer would recommend to you 100%.
My lawyer does recommend to me.
Yeah, I think if you're a homeowner, asking about the budget early is super important. You got to do it 100%. Yes. But you've got to ask more questions than that. And we have trained the people that do sales. There's 3 of us that do sales in this company. We have trained everybody to say, when somebody asks that price, you have to ask that question. You have to ask 30 questions more before you can even start giving them the semblance of an answer, which can be frustrating to some homeowners, but that's the facts. Like, we have to ask a lot more questions before we can have an understanding of the price. And oftentimes we still won't get it by the end of the meeting.
Yeah, at the end, it's like, the homeowners are right to ask the question, but the contractors are also right to push back on false certainty. Like the idea that we're going to have a parachute that is going to protect us from the price scope creep, because we set a number back 6 or 8 months before we even met. So yeah, the real win is having the first conversation, a real conversation, and you said it a few times, like the idea of alignment, right? We can't and we don't work with everybody. Like, I mean, that's the reality, is that not everybody is our customer and our client. We want to help everybody. We are, bleeding hearts, you and I. We see the good, and we want to help people there, but we can't work with everybody, and you can't hire more than one contractor really for your renovation. So you have to really make sure that you align with your contractor and they align with you. And the only way to do that is have real open conversations up front. And that's probably one of the things that I've noticed in this industry since joining the construction industry, is that generally construction people aren't really good at having open conversations. It's a fairly, my way or the highway type of industry, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, most of these contractors are technicians. They're tradespeople. They like to do the work. They love the work. I'm a business person. I love the trades. I love home construction, but I'm a business person, and I think about the business, the best way to serve customers. So I think the takeaway here at the end of the day, Chris, is if you're planning to do a renovation, start with feasibility, not with a fantasy. Start with, is this feasible? Is this a fantasy? Let's start with that.
I think that's a great place, like a great statement to finalize today's conversation over. You know, if you're planning a renovation, you know, start with feasibility, not with fantasy. I think that's a great line. You know,
So I just you're saying that I'm right?
yeah, you win.
I,
So I'm hoping that maybe next time we'll have a conversation about what simple means in construction. So, so if that's an interesting conversation, yeah, we're going to talk about simple. What is a simple renovation in construction next time?
simple means easy.
Simple and easy.
Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed our first ever episode.
And I hope to see you back next time. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for spending some time with me, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for watching the Frontier BuildCast. Everybody, we'll see you next time.
Ciao, we're now. Hey, thanks for watching the Frontier BuildCast today.
Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.